I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, May the 18th, brought to you in part by Ralgro. Ralgro implants deliver a steer that is 23 pounds heavier for only $1.50 per head. With drought, feed costs the way they are, and higher inputs of all kinds, it's something you can't pass up. Visit Ralgro.com or visit with your Merck Animal Health representative for more information. Cash feeders are struggling. I realize they still sound high, but they're not as high as we thought they were going to be a few months ago, according to your CME feeder cattle futures, and they're just really having a hard time clinging to steady. Now, so far this week, just Monday and Tuesday in your feeder cattle auctions, steers have been clinging to steady. Heifers have been falling at all of your bigger cattle auctions that feature several load lots of feeder cattle, but all this is happening on lighter receipts, and quite a bit lighter receipts than what we normally see. And there's just there's fewer cattle outside of the feedlots, but limited pen space right now, so your feedlots are not putting out a lot of orders to fill right away with feeder cattle. They know we're going into a time where your fat cattle market's going to slip, but we don't know exactly how much. And we're going to start moving a lot of these big fat calves that we put on feed, and we're going to be getting rid of some of those, rid of some of your heavier show list cattle, and that's going to loosen up some pen space, and so we'll see some more pen space coming up here over the next 6 weeks or so. But then likely your feeder cattle are going to be even fewer than they are now, and we expect to see your prices come up quite a bit. But right here in the short term, we're just kind of struggling on keeping our feeder cattle steady. But on the other hand, occasionally we see some big stockers selling at really impressive prices, and especially if they're in load lots, especially if they're long time weaned, if they're fairly green or they've been turned out already, and they'll go right on. But they're buying big stockers, you know, weighing well into your heavier 6s and into the 7 weights because of feed costs that are so high. But you know, with the exception of your Osage and your Flint Hills, which most of that is rented ground or just leased for the season, they're already out there on their 90-day stake out there. But there's places in Nebraska, there's places in South Dakota that's had a little bit of moisture, places in the foothills of the Rockies that are still buying cattle to put out on grass. And whenever you see those cattle, and there's not a whole lot out there, but if you see some bigger stocker type cattle, they can really impress you with how they sell, because there is orders for those out there. Cattle on feed reports coming out on Friday. It could be a little bit of a market mover. We're expecting your May 1st on feed inventories to be an all-time record high, but the early estimates from your average of analyst guess are thinking that they could be slightly lower than last month, because they're expecting placements to be a little bit lower than what marketings were. So we'll just have to see how that comes out. But placement figures are estimated to be at 96.1% of a year ago, and marketing's at 98%. You think, well, that's not very good. Well, we had one fewer day last month in March than what we typically had and what we had a year ago. So that's why it's coming in at 98%, but we're still thinking it's going to be pretty decent. But we'll have to wait till 2 o'clock Central on Friday to see how that comes out. Let's look at your board on Tuesday. June live cattle futures down 17 cents. Of course, all your commodities except for feeder cattle were up big on Monday, but June live cattle came back down 17 cents at 133 on your close. With fat cattle in the northern plains and the Midwest bringing 142. That's a June contract, which you can see June just right over the fence there, but nobody's complaining on the hedging end, because that's a heck of a nice basis for guys to go after there, which is promoting the sale at cheaper prices, which we're already seeing this week. August live cattle down 42 cents at 133.47. That's sure not much of a plus to what your June contract is, but it's normally not, but it has been this year. But your back months on your live cattle futures down 65 cents to up 27 cents, and that was the only up was on next August, not this coming August, but next August was up just a little bit there. May feeder cattle contracts down 22 cents at 157.17, which is still a pretty good premium to what your CME feeder cattle index is and your more current real-time index. So we got to be expecting these May feeder cattle contracts to be slipping back a little bit between now and the last day of trading, which is not very far away. August feeder cattle down 65 cents at 166.77. Back months on feeder cattle down 65 to down 105. Now corn was down, which you would expected your feeder cattle to be a little bit higher, but it was up so much on Monday. Corn was down 8 3/4 cents for regular trading on Tuesday and finished at $8 3/4 cents a bushel. Soybeans were up 21.5 on Tuesday and settled at 16.78 after regular trading hours. Kansas City hard red winter wheat shows no stopping. You know, it was up the limit on Monday, up 15 3/4 cents on Tuesday, ending regular trading at 13.67 3/4 cents a bushel. Your fat cattle trade, your packers came out fairly aggressive on Tuesday, still wanting to buy cattle with time, still wanting to buy cattle, 2 to 4 weeks out. And the cattle they bought 2 to 4 weeks out a week or two ago may not make it to the big numbers of show list cattle. So they're still looking to buy those cattle. Of course, guys are readily ready to sell them because of the huge basis right there. Stick $9 in your pocket in the northern plains and sure $6 in the southern plains. But they are selling for the basis right now, and then that's what's a little bit frustrating with guys that are just hoping to gain market position, especially backgrounders that would like to keep market position in your fat cattle trade to help the yearling market and calf sellers that are wanting to keep the prices high up the line there. But Colorado printed again, still getting a third packer coming in there bidding on cattle, 600 head on Tuesday with live price only at 142. Iowa, only 200 head confirmed in Iowa on Tuesday, 142 live, 224 to 225 dressed. Nebraska, pretty good movement for Tuesday, 6,400 head. The only live price I saw quoted was 142. But I did hear of several people that sold cattle in Iowa and Nebraska. It might have been later in the afternoon. They didn't get them turned in, though, at 143. It was mostly 142, but 143 on some good cattle there, guys. And that's not that much lower. Dress trade, 225 to 227. But live prices were mostly $2 lower on Tuesday, where it was established, and dress sales $2 to $4 lower. Of course, full $2 lower in the southern plains. Kansas sold 10,200 head confirmed on Tuesday, 137 to mostly 138. It's been mostly 140 for several weeks, but a few 219 dressed in Kansas. Texas, 5,800 head confirmed on Tuesday, all at 138. Sure, $2 lower. Box beef cutout values were higher, especially on your selects, but choice cuts were up just 17 cents on Tuesday afternoon at 260.48, but still gaining. Selects up 252 at 248.19. Slaughter running at a pretty good clip so far this week, if we can keep it going. 249,000 through the first 2 weeks of this week. That's 3,000 more than last week, 15,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Are you guys looking for a genetic change? Let Limousin and LimFlex take you full circle. The breeders there are focusing on feed efficiency, improving marbling, superior yield grade, which they've always had, and calving ease. Visit NALF.org for more information about Limousin and LimFlex. Talk about your feeder cattle market. How about your real-time index on DB auction late in the day on Tuesday? at 153.47. That was down another 90 cents. And I told you guys from the get-go that cash feeders are struggling. CME cash feeder cattle index is still at a premium to that, but it's not up to, it's always about a day and a half behind at 155.27, but it's sure going to drop here over the next session or two. How about your bigger sales on Tuesday? Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, 3,700 head. Feeder steers, steady to firm, clinging to steady there. Steer calves sold kind of uneven, from $4 lower to $4 higher, with some cattle selling as much as $8 higher on your steer calves if they were in the right condition and long time weaned. Heifer calves steady to $4 lower. Stick out sale in West Plains, 65 head of red and red cross cattle there, weighed 849. Steers at 150 in south central Missouri. A pretty good quote there. How about Beaver County Stockyards? They underestimated their offering, got more cattle than what they thought. We're expecting about 2,000 feeders, ended up with nearly 3,000 feeders. But that's a good sale, and they're pulling cattle from all over. You talk about your market report there, and it was heavily on your yearling feeder steers there, and you can see that. Market was sure lower though, but 975 head of 8-weight feeder steers in Beaver, Oklahoma, averaged 849 with a weighted average price of 146.66. 328 head of 9-weight steers in Beaver, averaged 940 pounds at 141.74. How about going up further in the northern plains? Kimball, South Dakota, Kimball Livestock Exchange, 2,800 feeders there. Had a good sale and fairly well tested across several weight groups there. Look at your automated market report from Cattle Market Central. See 406 head of 7-weight steers in Kimball, average 744 with a weighted average price of 165.29. 530 head of the 8-weight steers, averaged 848 at 153.13 on the weighted average price. 745 head of 9-weight steers, Kimball, South Dakota, they averaged 928 pounds with a weighted average price almost 150, 149.78. Best tested weights of heifers, 378 head of 8-weight heifers, averaged 859 with a weighted average price of 136.21. Some individual quotes for you around the circuit on Tuesday. Rezac Livestock Commission, St. Mary's, Kansas, sold 60 head, 908 pound steers at 154. Pretty impressive right there. How about Fredonia, Kansas, way south of there, Fredonia Livestock Auction, 109 head of 820 pound steers, bring 157.75. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Ralgro top quote for the day, come out of Kingsville Livestock Auction, 61 head, 689 pound stocker steers at 181.10. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.